KTRH.
It's that time. Lock and load. The Michael Berry Show is on the air.
Senator Ted Cruz is our guest. We have a short window, so let's get right to it. Senator, what is going on the Texas border, and is the Biden administration going to do anything to stop it?
Well, it's bad. There's a crisis unfolding at the border, and the short answer is no. The Biden administration does not intend to do anything to stop it. Joe Biden has caused this crisis. It has been the result of deliberate policies they put in place that have created this crisis, and there were several in particular. Number one, when Biden got elected, one of the first things he did was immediately halt construction of the border wall. Number two, they re-implemented catch and release. So it is now the policy of the Biden administration, when they catch illegal aliens, they release them, and they give them a court date sometime in the future that they ask them to come to, and everyone knows that a very large number of them never show up and disappear into the country. Number three, and perhaps most indefensibly, they eliminated the Remain in Mexico policy. So the Trump administration negotiated with Mexico an agreement that for the thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants who were coming up from Central America, crossing through Mexico, that if they applied for asylum in the United States, that they would remain in Mexico while their cases were proceeding. The Biden administration just threw that international agreement in the trash. They are now moving thousands upon thousands of illegal immigrants into the U.S. The Secretary of Homeland Security said this week that we are encountering more illegal immigrants on the southwest border than any time in the last 20 years. And they're continuing to release them. They're moving thousands of illegal immigrants to Dallas, to the convention center downtown. They're moving thousands of illegal immigrants to Midland, Texas, very much against the wishes of that community. And this problem continues to get worse because the political decisions driving the Biden administration are producing the problem.
Is there no political blowback from their base with midterms coming up next year that could move them to do something about this?
Possibly. The problem is when you talk about their base, right now the only base that the Biden administration is listening to is the radical left. That this administration is totally captured by the radical left. And so their agenda is being driven by Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and AOC, and the radical left supports open borders. That they have a political judgment that every single illegal immigrant is a likely Democratic voter, and so they want to let every illegal immigrant into the United States. They want to make them all citizens as quickly as possible. Look, Joe Biden rolled out his immigration plan when he wants Congress to pass. One of the aspects that he included was allowing every single illegal immigrant who was deported in the last 4 years to come back to America. That if you were deported under the Trump administration, we want you back. There are no exceptions for criminals. There are no exception for gang members. There are no exception for murderers or rapists or child molesters. Every one of them, they said, bring them in. I think that really shows who they're listening to, which is the extreme left, that has no common sense.
You have called Nancy Pelosi's H.R. 1 the Corrupt Politicians Act. How concerned should people be over this?
Deeply, deeply concerned. It's start off by this. This is the very first bill that the Pelosi Democratic House introduced, H.R. 1. The 1 means first bill they put forward. Now, pause for a second to reflect that their first priority was not defeating COVID-19. It was not immunizations. It was not getting people back to work. It was not getting millions of kids back to school. It was not helping small businesses reopen or survive. It was not helping families who've been hammered in this crisis survive. No, their first priority, their driving priority, is changing elections forever so that Democrats will never lose. Their objective is to lock themselves into power forever. So H.R. 1, the Corrupt Politicians Act, how does it do this? Well, it federalizes all elections. So it takes all of the state laws that have been put in place in all 50 states to protect the integrity of the elections, and it repeals them all. It takes them all off the books. So, for example, many states, including Texas, require photo ID to vote. You know, you need a photo ID to get on an airplane. You need a photo ID to drive a car. You need a photo ID to order a beer. But under the Corrupt Politicians Act, it will now be illegal to require a photo ID to vote. Anybody can vote. They provide automatic registration for everybody, knowing full well that millions of people will be registered who are not eligible to vote, who are not U.S. citizens. And this plan intends that. That's not a bug, it's a feature. They intend, under this bill, if it passes, for millions of illegal aliens to be voting and for millions of criminals and felons to be voting. And on the felon side, this bill explicitly repeals every state law that puts restrictions on felons voting, because apparently when Democrats look at our country, they think what we need is more criminals and rapists and murderers and child molesters voting. That would make America better. What they obviously have determined is that if millions of illegal aliens and criminals vote, they're going to vote for Democrats. This bill also subsidizes politicians. It's welfare for politicians. It provides that if you raise $1 and you're running for office, that the taxpayers match you with $6. So you get $6 for every dollar you raise. It's designed to just flood millions of dollars of taxpayer monies to fund politicians. Not only that, we saw all the problems we had in this last election from mail-in voting. The Corrupt Politicians Act mandates universal mail-in voting everywhere. Never mind that the Carter-Baker Commission, chaired by Democrat Jimmy Carter, chaired by James Baker, concluded that the most serious source of voter fraud is mail-in voting. Under the Corrupt Politicians Act, they want that fraud everywhere. It mandates ballot harvesting, the corrupt process where operatives go into nursing homes, they take advantage of seniors, they collect their ballots, including from some people no longer competent to vote. They throw away the ballots that they don't like, that are voting for the other side, and they mail in the ballots that they do like. This is mandated nationwide. It is the single most dangerous bill before the Congress, and Joe Biden and the Democrats are trying to ram it through because they want Democratic control of Congress for the next century.
We've seen our CIA, our FBI, and now our United States military being weaponized by the left. You spoke out a letter to the Secretary of Defense. Where is that issue with regard to Tucker Carlson?
Well, what we saw on the military side is that Tucker Carlson put up on his show, he criticized some of the steps the military were taking as weakening the military, as not making them as effective war fighters as they should be. And the Biden Department of Defense took offense, and a whole series of senior military leaders began blasting Tucker Carlson, blasting him by name, doing so in uniform, engaging in partisan attacks, engaging in politics, and doing so in really a petty and a childish way. You had the official account of the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force, a third of the warfighting capacity of the Marines, blasting Tucker Carlson, calling him a boomer, ridiculing him, suggesting that if you haven't served, you are not allowed to criticize the military. And, Michael, as you know well, we have a long tradition in our country, going back to the very first days of the Republic, of the military being apolitical, the military staying out of politics. There are a lot of countries, a lot of third world countries, where the military dominates politics, where uniformed officers drive politics. They are dictators. Here we don't have this. We have a civilian-controlled military that is a great feature that protects liberty in this country. And so I wrote a letter to the Secretary of Defense calling out DOD for violating their own directive, which prohibits uniformed personnel from engaging in partisan or political activity. I will say the letter produced immediate results. And in fact, the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force deleted those tweets and publicly apologized, admitted that it was a mistake, they'd gotten it wrong, and that Twitter account promised to do better. I have asked to meet with the Marine Commandant to discuss what's going on and how we make sure that the Biden administration doesn't politicize the military and diminish its warfighting capacity. I have not yet heard a response, but I hope the Commandant will come and sit down and discuss these issues.
I certainly hope you're right. We promised to get you out at 15. I got 60 seconds. What else did you want to make sure you got to?
I will say the next 2 years are going to be dark and they're going to be challenging. We've got Democratic control of the White House, of the House of Representatives, and of the Senate. They are going to ram through some terrible policies. 2 words of encouragement. Number one, I'm leading the fight against every one of these terrible policies. We are going to fight tooth and nail to stop the policies that would hurt 29 million Texans and hurt this country. Number 2, we're going to make it through this. America is a strong and resilient country. Texas is a strong and resilient state. The Democrats are overshooting. They've handed their party over to the crazies, to the lunatic left. There is a natural pendulum to politics. And we're going to move back in the direction of sanity. I believe 2022 is going to be a very good election. I believe 2024 is going to be a very good election. So we've got to make it through the next 2 years, but we're going to, and Texas is going to lead the way.
Senator Ted Cruz, always a pleasure. Thank you, buddy.